good evening, and welcome to this evening's chapter of Paddington Prowler. I'm your host and storyteller, Eric Taylor, and a couple of quick business items, then we'll introduce our cast. This week is a weird week, content production-wise, so please pay attention to Twitter. We might be here on Wednesday, we might not. It depends on a couple of real-life things going on in my house, and then we will not be here on Saturday evening, but we will be here Saturday morning for Unlawful Disorder. So stay tuned to Twitter for an update on Wednesday, and then be here for Unlawful Disorder at 8 a.m. Eastern Saturday morning. But Far From Home is off this week. So you can hang out on YouTube at 11 p.m. Eastern if you want, but we won't be here live, at least. Also, if you like what we do, check out patreon.com/DoRespite because it's all crowdfunded and supported. So help us out if you're able to and if you'd like to. And besides that, we'll jump over to our cast. How are you, Sam?
I'm good. Yeah. Looking forward to getting into the game. Definitely had the realization that I I guess I did a silly thing in character, but it was more because I'm dumb than because Wayland is. But we'll correct that. We'll fix that. Not me being dumb, but Wayland making a mistake.
I have no idea what we're talking about, so I look forward to watching you fix it. Katie, how are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here and see what unfolds next in this chapter.
Death.
I forgot my tissues, though, so hopefully no crying. Oh, see, Chantel's prepared. I'm not.
It's fair. Sarah, how are you?
I'm doing good. I am also excited to be here.
That is good.
I'd better not need tissues.
I make no promises. And Chantel.
Yes, hello.
How are you?
I am always ready to cry.
I feel attacked.
I mean, how
That's
many
my secret
episodes have we had? 14. I think I've cried at least half of those. So like I'm now prepared. Like I feel like I got this.
Well, so
I'm hydrated.
either you're
have
overly
tissues.
emotionally invested or
Yes.
low-hanging fruit.
Yes.
Well, in the case of both of those, we could have a problem.
Let's play.
All right, so last time on Paddington Prowler, the Marley Manor was burned down already. That happened the episode previously. Then your brother, who is a ship and also a robot, beat up a bunch of werewolves, but Constance ripped the head off of the man she loved while he was in werewolf form. That was sad. She got the opportunity to hear the ballad of his life, thanks to a man known as the Minstrel. And she learned she got to help compose the ending, whether it moved into its resolution or whether it got a coda. After some introspection, she chose to allow it to reach its resolution, and she, with the help of her wish magic wielding hag sister, went to purgatory and watched as Wyatt, the man she loves, was admitted to heaven. Fast forward, the Vigile Aeternum, also known as the Order, was dissolved after a surgical strike by Dr. Jack and his associates that eliminated 98% of them. So Van Helsing, Hattie Marie, and a large man who we came to know as Ezra said, well, guess this order is done as a thing. Siblings boarded a train headed to Paddington to go back to the Precocious Pixie to meet with their father's solicitor, a man named Mr. Angel. While on that train, it became very obvious that Ezra was enamored and indeed deeply in love with Amelia Marley, insomuch that he proposed to her on the train, and she accepted. We then learned that he is actually an orc, not a man, and in fact is the son of the overchieftain of the Orcish Empire in North America. And he declared to his soon-to-be, or eventually will be, sister-in-law Constance, that should she require, he would march upon the gates of heaven to get Wyatt back. Constance said, "This is a bad idea," but Nora was like, "No, this is a good idea, and we should do it." Because Nora things. We fast forward a little bit. You got off the train at Paddington Station, and as you made your way through the alleys on your way to the Precocious Pixie, you passed by a very certain specific alley, one that just over a week previous was the beginning of this entire nonsense. And as Constance passed by that alley, she felt a deep chill pass over her body. And as she glanced almost unconsciously down that alley, she saw a pair of bright red glowing eyes deep in the dark. And that is where we resume this evening's Paddington Prowler session, is with Constance meeting those red eyes deep in the darkness and beginning to trail slightly behind the remainder of her party, who are currently engaged in a conversation quite heated about the state of North American Orcish politics. What, Constance, would you like to do as you meet those red eyes in the dark?
Do they look angry?
From here, they look like red dots. They are deep enough back in the alley that you can't exactly make out expression around them. They are just red ovals in the dark.
Are they large enough not to just be like rats?
Oh, they are definitely big ol' eyes.
Okay. I am going to head toward the big old eyes. Because what else were we expecting to happen right now, really?
That's fair. Okay, so you make your way back into the alley.
Do we notice her having fallen back and now walking
You
in a different
may
direction?
make a roll.
Cool.
We're gonna say Waylon's at a -1 because he's probably actually interested in this whole Orcish politics conversation. I'm gonna say Amelia isn't even making a roll because her head is not with it right now. But I'm gonna say that Nora makes a roll flat because she doesn't really care about any of this Orcish stuff, and she knows where she's at. She's clueless, but she's not an idiot, and she's recognizing where she is.
Am I more than have we gone more than 10 meters from Constance?
We'll say yes.
Oh, good.
I got a 4.
I got a 1 after modifiers. Wait. I got a 4. Forgot the dice explode for a moment.
Okay. With a 4. Your sister is definitely not with you, and you notice that. But you don't necessarily notice where she's gone. You just kind of take a moment and you look around, and it dawns on you that Constance is no longer sullenly sulking around the edges of the party as she has been since, killing the man she loves. Which is a legitimate reason to be morose and slightly melancholy. So we'll start with the two of you who've made this noticing, because Ezra and Amelia are noticing the color of each other's eyes more and more than they were already.
I mean, we can take a breath. We can just hold off and delve into that. Like,
just pull back from the scary
Yeah.
thing and just,
yeah.
Eric, please narrate as they stare into each other's eyes.
I
I mean, look, there's a reason why she left, and maybe it's that.
Yeah, I sort of like, as soon as that sort of realization is like, oh, we're one down, like, Waylon sort of whips around. Am I aware?
Mm-mm. You have no idea that this is there.
Yeah, because where she was bitten was different to where she ran to afterwards.
Yeah, where she found you, yeah. Because she
Right.
was brought to the bar is where
Yeah.
where you saw her. So you were never at this alley. The only
But didn't she run? She ran
Oh,
away
I
from
ran
the
back
bar.
here.
Didn't she come back here?
perhaps.
Yes.
Where we found her, and it was like, let's try and not look at the corpse.
Yeah, perhaps. I think that probably the only person who really recognizes the space though is Nora. We're just gonna GM rule that one.
Oh, I'm happy with that to be the case. Where's Constance?
Waylon, Nathaniel, Constance is gone. And this is where, Waylon, where we were attacked.
Oh, I just run to the alley at that point. Like,
Yep, Nathaniel's right behind you. The alley is swirling with mist. But there is no Constance within this alley. And there is no red-eyed wolf. But you can go in the alley and look around, obviously.
yeah, I'd want to do that.
Give me a notice roll. Also you, Nora.
Okay. Nora's hanging out at the entrance to the alley. She's not going in yet.
Okay.
Does the one-eyed penalty kick in?
Mm-hmm.
And I got a 4.
Also, do you have dark vision?
I do, yes.
Okay.
Well, I have low light vision. I don't know if that's...
That's fine.
Yeah.
Nathaniel notices nothing because he rolled double ones. So you got a 4, you said, Sam?
11.
And an 11.
Yeah, that's after the -2 from the eye.
Not Nathaniel. Waylon, do you notice that there is a tuft of blue hair, like just there in the alley? Nora, you see that same blue hair, but then you start to see several places along the brickwork where there is more blue hair.
Specifically hair and not fur.
Mm-hmm. Yep, hair.
Waylon, do you see that blue hair?
Yes.
Look, it's also on the bricks. What was she doing?
She couldn't have been gone for long. Does it form like a trail that we could follow?
How well can you bound up buildings?
Ah. As well as a D6 in athletics allows me to.
You are welcome to try, Mr. One Eye.
I had initially assumed it just went further down the alley. I'm assuming it's actually just going up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Oh.
she done parkoured her way up the alley, is what it looks like.
Wayland, I can't climb up walls like that.
No.
And someone needs to meet with the solicitor. Do you think maybe Ezra or...
Does there seem to be a way onto the roof of the buildings, on either of the buildings on either side?
Maybe inside the building, but not from the outside.
Would Nathaniel be able to follow?
Nathaniel is missing.
God. The tufts of black hairs going up.
But as you look for Nathaniel, I will have those of you who are not previously werewolf bitten remove your headphones for me. You're standing in an alley. You're standing there within probably a couple of feet, maybe a meter at most, from a wolf in tattered trousers and spectacles. And he's staring at you. And he looks at you and he kind of sniffs. And then he kind of waves his hand. And there's just a swirl of that dense fog, that just thick London fog that fills the alley. And he doesn't reach for you, he doesn't growl at you, he doesn't howl. He just steps back further into the alley. And then behind you, you hear voices. People calling your name. People looking for you. You see Wayland and you see Nora and you see Nathaniel. Nora walks right through you, as though you're not even there. You see them pointing at the walls, and you watch as Nathaniel watches the other two for a moment, and as they're pointing, he just growls, and you see him just leap with no effort whatsoever, clean to the top of the building.
Nora?
You get no response. They just continue to operate around you. Nora passes through you a couple of more times.
What have you done?
And he sort of just looks at you and kind of tilts his head and lolls his tongue out a little bit. And then bounds back down the alley.
I follow.
Okay. Give me a Give me a smarts roll.
$12.
Okay. He goes running back there. You're following. And he goes, Traspin's wall, like garden wall, reaches up and kind of scrambles up onto a rooftop. And you get the very strong impression in human form. That's going to be rough for you as a thing.
I will transform.
Mhm. Okay.
To a wolf.
So that activates your power. And you shift into the form. And give me your new athletics roll. In Wolfington Wolfness form.
5.
You have a harder time. You don't make it quite as clean. Like some of the bins fall down. You kind of scramble against the wall. And then you're up on top of the roof. And you have like a moment of dangling for just a second. And then you feel that pod hand clench your forearm and haul you up onto the roof. And you are now like nose to nose with the Prowler. And off to the side, you just hear this.
Who's that?
Off, leaned against like the chimney pipe of the building, is a man in a dark brown duster wearing a mask. And he looks up at you. Well done.
Going to look back at the Prowler.
Mhm.
Don't know how language works. Gonna try anyway. Why did you bite him?
And the Prowler just sort of stares at you.
Going to Dr. Jack
Mhm.
as quickly as possible and pin him.
Give me an athletics roll.
Six.
Okay. You sprint towards Dr. Jack and leap into like a pounce and promptly collide with the stovepipe on the other side of the image of Jack. And, you know, pull back and like rub at your nose as you've just head first, face first into, you know, that concrete stovepipe. Come, you think that when you're so young, so naive and out of control, that I'd present myself into danger? Your brother can do wonderful things, and one of them is to make me appear here.
Gonna drop form.
Mhm.
What are you going to do with him?
I'm going to not do anything with him, save for teach him to reach the potential that your father was squandering. the potential that Van Helsing wouldn't let your father reach.
What do you mean?
Kind of glances to the side for a moment. Does it ever trouble you that you've only heard one side of this story? Doesn't it trouble you that your father was the vagabond?
Yes, it does.
Van Helsing's side of the story is just that. Van Helsing's side.
So what's yours?
Mine is much similar. He doesn't weave lies. He just leaves out motivation. And he just tells half-truths and twists the light on a scene to put him in the best possible hue.
So what's your side? What's different?
The veil is a shackle to those trapped behind it. Held in bondage by an agreement made long ago under duress. Both sides need one another. Without it, both sides will die. Without one another, they can't stop what I've seen.
What does that mean?
And he glances to the Prowler for a moment. And you hear footsteps coming in your direction as he glances back toward where the Prowler had been standing.
I look over my shoulder.
Okay.
Briefly.
There is no massive werewolf standing there at this point. There is a very kindly looking individual, has deep, long black hair that hangs down over his eyes. He's dressed in those tattered trousers. He has the cut and the physique of a man that Amelia would be taken with quite instantly. And he just holds out his hand, and in it there's a small silver card about the size of like a playing card. And it's just a small silver sheet.
What's this?
An invitation.
To what?
Come and find out.
I take it.
Okay. It is metal. You would guess it probably is some kind of embossed steel, heavily, heavily polished. On one side, it has an engraving that looks a lot like the mask that Jack is wearing now. And on the other side, there is a very detailed seeming engraving around the border. And then in the very center, it just says Venice.
Just Venice.
And he just smiles at you.
Why did you bite me?
And the man kind of looks up at you and then looks down again. And you've noticed that when he's not in wolf form, the past couple times you've looked at him, his head is not up. He's always kind of looking down. My brother doesn't speak much, dear. But he has a nose for the exceptional, for those who stand out. Yourself, Wyatt, his other children. His curse is unique, and only the strongest can carry it with him. My time grows short, dear. Your brother is growing quite tired. And we have a boat to catch. But whatever you decide to do, whether you piece together the clues and take my invitation, or whether you decide to just stay out of my way and let the chips fall where they could. Whatever your decision, dear, just remember, Van Helsing is not everything he seems. And his image fades away. And around you, the fog starts to swirl. And the Prowler kind of looks up at you. And you watch as he shifts into that massive werewolf again and leaps from one building rooftop to the other and vanishes into the night. And below you, you can hear the others calling your name. But then you feel a pair of hands grasp your shoulders as Nathaniel is standing right behind you. You're all right. You just appeared out of nowhere. I could taste that you were here, but I couldn't see you.
Venice?
What? Now doesn't seem like the time for a vacation.
I think we have to go to Venice.
I thought we had to go to New York and 17 other places.
We have a lot of places to go.
No, one of them is to the Pixie. Come before Nora starts to shoot up the alley. Wayland and Nora, you're in the alley below, looking around. Nora, you're still at the head of the alley near the street. Wayland, you've moved up and down.
Are either of the buildings either side like open? Like, are they businesses or are they?
Well, one of them's essentially like an apartment complex, almost like a tenement hall kind of thing. Like, you could probably get into it.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. I head back to Nora.
Okay.
I'm going to go see if there's a way onto the roof from inside the building.
Do you want us to wait here, or do you want Amelia and Ezra and I to continue on to the Pixie? Someone has to meet with the solicitor. And if Nathaniel went after her...
How far from the Pixie are we, and how far from, was it 2 that we're meeting them?
Mm-hmm. It's probably about half an hour off of when you're supposed to meet with them at this point. And you're probably 10-15 minutes away. So you have a little bit of time to burn, but not a ton.
Let's wait for a moment. Stay here. Check if we can get on the roof. We'll see what we can see up there. If there's no one up there, I don't know much more we could do. Let the others know what's happened.
Okay, I'll go tell Amelia and Ezra.
Okay. You make your way back to your sister and her fiance. They have stolen a private moment in an alley.
Amelia? Amelia?
Oh,
Where'd
Nora.
you-
Where is everyone?
Constance disappeared. We found some of her hair in an alley, and then when we pointed that out to Nathaniel that it went up the walls, he disappeared too. I think he went after her. Wayland and I can't climb walls. So Wayland's going to look to see if there's a way he can get up to the roof to see where they maybe went. Amelia, the alley she disappeared in, that's the area where we were attacked by the Prowler that night we came to see you.
And she's gone now.
She keeps wandering off.
We've got to get up to that roof.
Wayland's looking to see if there's a building that we could go up, but we don't have much time. Someone needs to meet with the solicitor. Father's business is important.
But if Constance is in danger,
Nathaniel
cares
went
about
after. Well, Nathaniel went after her, and he's not exactly a vampire, sort of. I'm sure he has lots of skills.
Okay. So, what do we do?
We're waiting to see if Waylon finds a way up. We have, and she checks her watch, we have about 10 or 15 minutes before we have to be on our way to be on time for the meeting.
I mean, the solicitor said he'd come every day at 2 for a week.
I kind of don't want to put it off. Have you noticed that we never seem to get anywhere on time?
Nora, I understand, but Constance is missing. I feel like an appointment can wait.
Father's business is important. They think he's dead. What do you think is going to happen to M3? If they think he's dead and his heirs have disappeared. I was really hoping Nathaniel would be here for this because he's the one that handles all the business. On the other hand, he's going after Constance, so she'll probably be okay. Because she has Nathaniel. And Amelia, I don't want to make you feel bad, but sometimes when we get into trouble, well, at the house, you got attacked by werewolves and I accidentally shot you, and you died. And at the hag's hut, you broke your ankle and you lay in the mud and wouldn't move. I mean, I'm really glad you have Ezra now. Maybe he'll do a better job taking care of you than I have been. It's really hard to take care of you, Amelia.
Well, when you put it all together like that,
I will take care of her. And should she fall in the mud, I will lift her up and carry her from it. Orcs are no strangers to mud.
Oh, good, because I just kept dragging her after Constance and I made her ankle worse. Picking her up would be a lot better.
I will definitely never drag her. Lifting her is no problem.
well, see, everything's fine then. Except for Constance.
If your sister is missing, we can sound the horns and every orc within the city will find her.
Oh, Amelia, I really like you, Ezra. I'm so glad to welcome you to our family.
And
That sounds like a great idea, doesn't it, Amelia?
Oh, absolutely. I think we should do that. Ezra?
And he holds up his hand for a moment. And there's kind of this whisper of wind. And this large curled horn appears in his hand. Just sort of apparates in. And he looks to you. I will call forth the tribes. And he lifts the horn and just through London. Wayland, as you are walking through this tenement hall, looking, traveling up the stairs and looking for a roof access, you hear just this deep horn. But then, what is arguably more surprising, not just the first horn, but is the that answers, followed by a third and a fourth and a fifth. You stop counting after about 15 or 20 horns just responding.
Oh, I'm sure that's fine. Okay. Is there a way up to the roof?
Yeah,
that I can
you
find?
eventually find one. But as you are heading up to the roof, you hear a voice in your head. Hey, Northman. And it is Nathaniel speaking into your mind.
Nate?
Yeah. I think I found her. It's gonna sound weird, but like I can taste her on the air, but I can't see her. I'm on, and he describes the building, and it's the opposite building to the one you're climbing up onto.
Is she nearby or?
Look, I'm kind of new to this whole vamp business, so I don't actually know. But maybe? Also,
All right.
what the hell was that?
I'm not 100% sure, but if I had to guess, I think our new brother-in-law is very enthusiastic.
He's a... He and Amelia will do just fine, I'm sure. Or Emily, or what are we supposed to call her?
Well, look. She told me very clearly to call her Amelia, but I haven't noticed her correct anyone else. So, I don't know. I'm going to try and find my way into the building. If you find her, let me know.
Very well. And you find your way up to the top. And as you're standing there, kind of looking around, you start to hear... We're going to go with the word kerfuffle throughout the streets of London. And as you hear hounds and other guttural speech and the occasional retort of one of those deep bellowing horns, as you glance across, you see three things that startle you slightly, arguably. Whether or not it really startles you is obviously up to you as the player. But you see, almost out of the air, the massive hulking form of a trousers-wearing, spectacles on the end of his nose werewolf just sort of apparate and then turn and bound off, leaping across from building to building to building into the dark, and is gone. It's into the daylight, since it's, almost 2. But then you hear in your head Nathaniel swear in your mind, and you see him step back on the other roof, both at the sight of the werewolf, but then at the sight of Constance, just again seemingly apparating into the space with her back to him, and you see that he reaches out and grabs her shoulders.
And this is on the opposite roof? Nah. How far apart are the buildings?
I'll give you a Benny to find out.
I feel like I can visually find out without.
You're probably 10 feet across. My understanding of London streets is they're not that wide.
Yeah. That seems overly reckless. Chorus of nods. I just call out. Are you both all right?
And from behind you, Constance, you've heard Nathaniel's voice in your ear, but you hear Wayland calling out to you.
Yes?
I mean, I'm fine.
I was worried about you,
You said, are you both?
and I assumed you were.
Well, why'd you ask?
No, I assumed when you didn't answer, it doesn't matter.
And as you're standing there, like, kind of having this debate, suddenly there's just this, like, crunch in front of you, and your brother and your sister have cleared the distance. And he, like, sets her down.
Nate, you've changed.
Eh.
So what was that? Just out of curiosity.
That was Nathaniel jumping 10 feet.
I meant before. Sudden disappearance. The Prowler leaving the area.
Yes.
Everything okay? Within a relative sense?
I think I know where Dorian's going to be. But not specifically, just not in London. Venice.
I've heard just such wonderful things about Venice this time of year.
We have so many places to go.
It's true. And the only way we get to them is one at a time.
I think we need to speak with Van Helsing.
I agree. We'll see what this Mr. Angel has to say. And then we will go talk to Van Helsing. And then we will plan our next move. But at the moment, my vote is going after Dorian.
I think so, yes.
How are you doing, Constance? Away from Amelia and Ezra and Nora. Just between the three of us. How are you doing?
I'm. I don't know.
Constance, I've been very bad at following my own advice. Told Nate here that it was best that we were open with the family. And it occurs to me I've let a few things slip and not informed the rest of you, but you in particular. I apologized for taking your payment without asking, but I realized I also was not clear. I left out part of the payment. You know about the eye, obviously. That was to cover your payment. But then there was the payment for the deal in the first place. And Babette, as I told you, decided that she wanted to give me something that she told me would gnaw at me for the rest of my days. And that was about not just what my brother had done, but that my mother was behind it. But there was a third thing, an extra little twist of the knife, that I only noticed as I read over the contract before I signed it. I didn't question it, though. I didn't fight it. I just signed the contract. She gave me your sadness, Constance, that you had gotten from your deal. And I'm not telling you this to worry you, because if I'm honest, while at first it was it on top of everything else, I just didn't handle it very well. But I've been giving it some thought, and quite frankly, I'm of the opinion that I got a fantastic deal from Babette. I lost an eye, and I gained information that will gnaw at me till the end of my days. But it was good and useful information. And if I had learned it in any other way, I would have had doubt that it was true. Learning it from Babette means I have no doubt. And while I now have this sadness that is not my own, that is not connected to anything from me, when I feel it, I know you're not feeling it. And there are few things that make me happier than knowing I have taken an amount of sadness from my family. And I tell you this to be clear, that I don't want to hide things from you, but I also tell you this so that you know that in a very small way, I understand. I understand how you feel.
They. The contract wanted me to give up my fertility. But I'm the heir to 2 thrones. Or who knows how many. I don't. But more than one. And if I'd brought him back, how long would it have been before? At least I did it fast.
I hug Constance. And I say, there are things in this world stranger than hag magic. There are options. You've already been told that it's possible to march onto heaven. And you might not want other people to be put out, to be put at risk because of you, because of something you need. But everyone here, everyone waiting down in the street, love you, want the best for you. And if it exists, if it is possible, we will get him back. And if it is not, we will join you in mourning him. And we will bring justice to the people who put him in that situation. To the Prowler, to Dr. Jack, to my brother, all of them.
Apparently he was remarkable. And that's why he was bitten.
He was loved by you. I would expect nothing less. We should rejoin your sisters. I have some news I should share. Be better at sharing, and I should tell everyone at once. And then we will see this Mr. Angel. I'm half expecting wings. What about you?
Do demons exist?
Yes, says Nathaniel. Yeah. Whale and I have fought a couple.
Then that's what I expect.
Well, whatever it is. Face it as a family.
With our
We
luck,
get
it
through
is
it.
family.
Well, that's true. Demon uncle.
Dagger Dad.
My brother's a ship. Childhood sounds complicated.
It's a weird family.
And as you're all standing there, you hear that like rooftop access door fly open. And there's the sudden like barking of hounds and then this as you turn and see 4 men dressed very nicely and 4 large bloodhounds burst onto the roof. And one of them just reaches into his, like, jacket suit pocket and pulls out one of those horns and blows it. And he looks at you. We found you. You don't appear to have been as lost as we were led to believe.
Not at the moment, no. But thank you.
You're welcome. I'm to escort you to the chieftain and the chiefess.
Yes, I thought that was what that sound was. Very impressive.
Ogre horns make much noise.
I'll keep that in mind.
But it's important. You only blow on an ogre horn from an ogre that you kill. If you blow on anybody else's ogre horn, you don't turn out good. Shall we? And he begins to head down the stairs. You are all led back to outside of the door. Nora is like frantically checking like a pocket watch, I would imagine. And you see, at this point, Ezra is standing behind Amelia, and he's got his hands around her waist, holding her close to him. He does not appear to have really stopped holding her close to him since they met. Re-met, I guess, became reconnected. And there are in the street around this little abandoned building that everybody's standing in front of, probably 16 men in suits. And they are all coming up and talking to Ezra and giving signs of genuflection to Amelia. And then backing away as the 4 men with you approach. We found him. And Ezra nods. Thank you. I'm much obliged. And he turns and he looks at Constance. I beg in your pardon, my sister, but it would greatly please me if, should you seek to venture away, that you at least give us some warning. It is not often that I have to sound the horns in London. And one of the men chimes up, Aye, it's been like 15 years.
Why did you sound the horns?
Mine love was worried about you.
You disappeared down an alley and there was blue hair Is that what you said, Nora? Up the wall?
Constance, you've got to stop disappearing without telling us where you're going. We were worried. Only now we can send orcs to find you. Isn't it lovely? And I knew Nathaniel would probably find you first.
The horns will work everywhere except Australia and China.
Will they work in Egypt too?
There are Egyptian orcs.
I've heard that things are different there.
They are. They probably won't answer to the horns out of duty, but more out of courtesy. But there are no orcs in China. And the Australian orcs. You don't sound the horns in Australia. Let's just leave it at that.
Okay, we need to walk and talk. We're going to be late for our appointment.
Okay.
And he
No more disappearing.
snaps his fingers, and one of the men nods. And you see the man walk back into a cheese shop, which is across the street. And a couple of minutes later, out from an alley, this cheese delivery cart comes. And he hands the ring to Ezra, and Ezra's like, "We'll get it back to you as soon as I get them to their destination." And he nods. And he holds out a small tray, and it has a few little morsels of cheese.
I mean, it's neither citrus nor meat, so
Everybody holds it out to everybody else.
Yeah, take some.
Okay, thank you.
It is.
I didn't know orcs made cheese.
Why wouldn't we make cheese? Cheese is delicious.
That is true. I should have known better.
It's a solid argument.
Amelia takes some too because it's not cookies, but someone's offering her food. So
Oh no, there's so much cinnamon in orc cheese.
Certain orc cheeses, that is true, but not this one. This is a very delicately aged kind of English cheddar. It's very, very sharp. Deliciously toasty in just the right way. You get the impression it's definitely an eating cheese, though. You should probably slice it and put it on things. It's old enough, it's been aged enough that it's going to go waxy on you if you try and melt it. So definitely don't do that.
Is that supposed to be a food description? Is that what that is? Is that what we're
That
doing
was
now?
food, and I described it better than most people you
Yes.
know.
Yes.
I want cheese now, so.
I do too.
I
really
have cheese downstairs.
I have cheese too.
But he nods, and Ezra thanks him, and you all climb aboard the cart and start to head off toward the Pixie.
I mentioned this to Connie and Nate, but I've realized that I'm still holding on to bad habits of not sharing information, to not worry people. I want to change. I don't want to do that anymore. When I was talking with Van Helsing and Hattie Marie, they had a flower from my sister, from Taza. And when I held it, I was transported, as is normally the case with these things, it seems, but not to somewhere to talk with her. I was shown. Taza is dead. Teyral and Tiana killed her because she tried to help me. And I suspect Taza was more aware of what Teyral was doing than she had let me know, but my suspicion is that she didn't know what he had done to me. She seemed to think that the plan was to bring me back into the family. And Teyral told her that he had always known that I wouldn't turn my back on a vow that I had made, that my vow to the Order would prevent joining them and following someone he referred to as the Chosen One. And then he told Taza that betrayal couldn't be tolerated. And Tiana cut her down. I had hoped Tiana was as much a victim in this as myself and as Taza was. And while she seemed upset, she had tears in her eyes, she still carried out the task. So I don't know what hold Teyral has over her, but she is with him. I asked Van Helsing and Hattie Marie if my brother had been involved with this attack on the Order and on this family. Teyral has been funding Dr. Jack. I don't know for how long, but if my exile was part of their plan, they have been planning for over a century.
Dr. Jack.
Possibly. We don't know how old Dr. Jack is.
You said he was human.
That was my understanding. My understanding was all three of the founders are human. That was the indication that Babette had given me.
His arm isn't human.
But at the same time, being human, we know Alistair, we know Father, had previous dealings with Babette, potentially many times. And when I joked about being older than my father, it was indicated I might not be correct. I was happy to let Teyral, when I thought that he was just trying to usurp the throne, I was happy to let him. I was never intending to sit on the throne myself, and frankly, if he hadn't exiled me, I wouldn't have met any of you. But he's directly involved. He was directly involved in the attack on the on the Marleys. And he killed my baby sister. And I am no longer happy to let him just be. And I apologize for thinking that this was just my pain, my anger. He was directly involved in the attack on this whole family. And I should have told you sooner. I got caught up. And I'm sorry. But now you know.
Dr. Jack thinks there's something that he's seen that both sides of the veil are going to need to come together for. I don't know
going
what.
about it. Sorry.
I don't know what. And he just seems to want to pull down the veil altogether. And I think Dorian might be helping.
Helping willingly or helping as a key part of the plan?
I don't know. But I could see you. When you walked into the alley, I could see you. You walked through me, Nora, several times.
Interesting.
And then... Ow, yes. And then I smashed my face on a stovepipe because Dr. Jack wasn't there. Not really. But Dorian made him appear as though he was. And he did that for a long time. And now they're on a ship.
I'm getting a little tired of being on the back foot, I may have mentioned. It's concerning this talk of a chosen one. Prophecies are always just... Well, it's not really the prophecy that's the problem. It's the people who think they can fulfill them. And if Dr. Jack is as powerful as this rating system that he invented, it's actually a little bit awkward. But if Dorian is also as powerful as that, neither one of them could potentially be viewed as this chosen one. or it could be someone else or something else entirely. And if Dr. Jack thinks that something is coming, something that the human world and the other world need to face together, well, he's going about it in a very destructive way. He's going about it in a way that would cause a great deal of harm and grief. And perhaps he sees it as justified. But frankly, at the moment, I disagree.
So do I. Whatever's coming, the world's going to have to meet it without Dr. Jack. And the Prowler.
They're brothers.
Oh, of course they are. We're going to find out that the three founders and the Prowler are just quadruplets or something from the dawn of time. This family is weird.
Yes.
Let's go find out what Father put in place in the event of his non-death.
Yes, because it's important to remember he is not dead, and we will get him back.
It might be... Look, I'm not really sure about human law. It might be not an idea to not mention that to the solicitor. We know he's not dead.
Oh, okay.
The solicitor's going to know.
Oh, I'm
blue. We're about to walk in there.
if this turns out to be a regular run-of-the-mill solicitor, I'm actually going to be quite disappointed, but pleasantly surprised. Be nice to have mundane.
I don't know if it would anymore.
Oh well. One way to find out.
A few moments later, the cart draws to a stop in front of the precocious pixie. It has a closed sign on it, which is very unusual. And you all climb down out of the cart. Ezra climbs down and lifts Emily down. And looks to her because it's her place.
I didn't put that close sign on the door. Well, never mind. And she starts kind of going through her dress looking for her keys.
Okay. Yep, you managed to find your key.
She goes up and opens up the pixie.
Okay. You step in. It has been cleaned up since the last time you were all here, a little over a week ago. So, no bodies, no blood, no broken tables, none of that. But there is a man seated at the bar. He has a bottle and a glass. You recognize it as one of your top shelf kind of bottles. And as you step in, he is The room smells the same way it has always smelled, right? It smells heavily of alcohol. It smells heavily of cigar smoke and other smokes and very, very rich fine wood and leather. It definitely has that, Victorian era gentleman's club feel to it. And this man is very, very tall. He's probably 6'5", 6'6" easily. He's dressed in an exquisite tailored suit. There is a trench coat hung over the back of the stool next to him. There is a large all leather folio there on the bar next to him as well. And across it from where you're slightly up, because remember the pixie, you come in and you go down some stairs to be down in the floor. You can see the folio glittering there in the lamplight, and it says F period Angel on the front of the folio, just in those embossed kind of gold letters.
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Would you like me to open a tab for you?
And he looks to her and he says, well, given that at the moment, Miss Marley, you don't own this bar. Because, let's be fair, you never owned this bar. I think we can call it square, don't you? And he stands up, and he hasn't turned. He's still wearing his very tall, wide-brimmed top hat, and he adjusts his suit as he stands, and you see him, doing the buttons back up. And he reaches out and he picks up the folio, and you see he's got gloves on that go up under his suit coat. And he turns around, and his face is very, very, very white. Near on to almost kind of albino-esque white. His features are very elongated. And his eyes are just pitch black. No pupils, no iris, no nothing, just solid black. And he turns around and he looks at all of you. Simply, the 3 oldest and the youngest are missing, correct?
Yes.
I mean, assuming there's not others we're not aware of.
And he'd count. No, that would put us at 9. And that is the correct number. Have a seat. And he strides over. And as he moves, you notice that now that he's stood up from the stool, the suit jacket and everything goes down and is tailored, but the pants are sort of hanging there, but they're not moving as he moves. So they're almost kind of just like drifting along the floorboards. There's almost like this slight kind of dragging of the toes, like how like a child would scuff their toes as they're walking, but this is just more like his just drag a little bit.
Would I be familiar with any kind of Would this be making me think of a particular creature?
You can give me
Like
a
a
cult
specific
roll.
creature? Ooh, 5.
Nothing that's alive.
Fun.
So, Wayland, I guess you're not disappointed, huh?
No, this is... I didn't know what to expect, but basically this, yes.
Nate, is this a demon?
I'm not a demon, no. Please sit down. And he reaches into that suit pocket and he produces a black silk handkerchief and holds it out to Amelia.
She takes it.
He just sort of nods to her and then indicates once more, please sit down. There's much to do. Supper has been ordered and it will be here around 6.
You wouldn't happen to have ordered, like, soup, like, I don't know, with mushrooms in it, would you have?
And he glances down, opens up the folio, and he says, I have ordered a great deal of citrus-laden foods. A number of seemingly northern-related delicacies. Many what one would call healthy options. And several pints of a mushroom bisque, yes.
Okay. For some reason, I'm just really wanting mushroom soup.
I assume there's like a single table that we're sitting at.
Yeah, it's
Or we have
just
to, like,
it's a
pull
big
chair.
round table, yeah.
No,
Was it
you
there?
always hated mushrooms. I'm confused.
You know, I didn't think they tasted good, but for some reason, I think I should try again. I don't know why.
Okay.
I mean, I think if we think hard enough, we might be able to work this out. Nora.
What are you talking about? I mean, it's normal for people to try new foods that they didn't used to like.
Yes. I sit down.
He
I also sit down.
looks and you see that Ezra has sat down and Amelia sits down next to him. Nathaniel kind of drapes himself over one of the chairs and is, right next to Constance. And he's kind of just squinting at Mr. Angel. Miss Nora, if you would, please.
If I would what?
Sit down, dear.
Fine. You promise that you don't have any nefarious plans?
Save if they're in this will. If your father enacted nefarious plans, then I will carry them out, as is my contract.
It just suddenly occurred to me that a lot of people keep trying to attack us, and we maybe should have been a little more careful before we came here and met with you.
And he turns and he looks at Ezra for a moment. I'm sure that the chieftain has made a great deal of arrangements for his security, for himself and his, and he glances through the ledger for a moment. Betrothed. And in
That's true.
addition, my agents are all around the building. We will be quite safe.
Of course, that's only reassuring if we believe that you're not trying to hurt us.
And he reaches in and pulls out a gleaming, it's almost like a metallic looking paper. And he sets it on the table and spins it and slides it across the round table to Nora. And on it, it says, it's Angel and Associates law firm. And it is a contract that is written stating that with this spell, the specter of F. Angel is bound in service to the Marley family until the legal matters of the estate of Alistair Marley have been concluded. And there's some further legal mumbo jumbo that literally says all of the same things. Does that satisfy your concerns, Miss Nora?
It looks legal. Okay.
You could try and tear it if you wish,
Really?
or perhaps
it up.
hand it to your future brother-in-law.
Oh, yes. He's stronger than I am. She hands it over.
And Ezra takes it and he looks at it. Are you sure?
What does it smell like?
The mines.
I'm sorry?
Mines. Also,
Maybe.
salt and Hollywood. Not the place. Like the tree.
Right.
I would say potentially it's not an amazingly good idea to try to tear up the contract that binds our father's solicitor to service.
Oh, so you think it's legit then?
Also, sandalwood. Frankincense. Lavender. Blood.
Your sense of smell is amazing. Maybe we shouldn't tear it up, though. Go ahead and hand it back to me. If you would, please.
He hands it back.
Okay. If you would continue, please. We have many other things that we need to attend to.
Perhaps. Your travel plans, however, need be postponed until this most important of matters has been handled. And he turns and he looks first to all of you. Years ago, your father came to our organization and paid the price for the ritual of binding to ensure our services. As such, everything that proceeds here is of utmost secrecy, save for that which we have been told to reveal publicly. And indeed, this entire establishment has been warded against prying eyes and ears. I will now read to you a letter written by your late father, Alistair Marley. And he kind of takes a moment and he twists his head for just a second like he's cracking his neck. But when his face comes back, your father's face is staring at you. There's a quartet of very mixed reactions that we got there. And when he speaks, the voice is the voice of your father. My beloved children, if you're hearing these words, it means that my time has run out. Perhaps I am dead. Perhaps I'm simply unreachable. Or perhaps the worst has transpired. And I've chosen a side. Whatever the case, Angel and Associates has reached out to you to provide you with what is yours. At this point, I would imagine that your world is filled with questions. Because if the worst has come to pass, and I am no longer with you for whatever reason, the world has reached a point where I imagine you've started getting half of the answers you seek, but never the complete one. So listen closely, my darlings. I was born nearly a century ago in London. The orphan boy who was left in an alley to die. Many of you asked me why you never met your grandmother or your grandfather. To be truthful, I never met them either. But a man took me in. A man by the name of Van Helsing. And there I was raised like a brother to Johann. We were brought up together. We were taught of the world together. We went to school together. We did everything together. And while there, we met a young boy named Jack. And you see his mouth move after he says Jack, but there's no sound. The three of us were best friends. We did everything together. We went off to university together. We went to war together. We met our wives and married together. And we met our first demon together. And we killed him together. And it was that night that the man who'd adopted me took the three of us aside and told us a truth that he'd kept buried for a long time. the truth of another world, of the other world, and the truth of the dark, thin veil that separates us. And I went home to my wife, Emily, and my 3 children. And I cried because I knew everything would change. Because that's the problem, my darlings. You can't have that kind of secret and live a normal life. And if there is one transgression that I will burn in hell for eternity for, it's that I've cursed you with that same set of secrets, which will keep all of you from living a normal life. "24 years ago, everything turned upside down. Experiments that Jack did had been very successful in giving us longer lives. But imagine my surprise when my sweet Emily told me she was pregnant. And when Nathaniel was born. And then the world turned itself upside down when the summer court marched on the court of winter. Burning everything, killing so many. But the 3 of us in our fledgling little order swooped in to try and save the day. And we found the young princess, Amelia Nora, hiding in a kitchen as everything around us burned. And my brave bride took my hand and squeezed it, and threw the girl into my arms and rushed back. Weaving the spells that she'd learned how to do years before. Taking the young queen's place at the block. And dying so that the Winter Court's royal family could live on. It took years, but in time, I fell in love with Amelia Nora, and she with me. And together, we gave birth to 2 wonderful children. Nora and Dorian. And there's kind of this creaking and the head turns. The shoulders don't move at all, but the head turns to watch Amelia. You see, Amelia Nora was pregnant with Emily when we saved her from the castle. She was born under the Marley roof, and I've raised her as my own. But somewhere in the middle, I saved the life of a young man named Grumgully Bouldertooth. And here's the thing about goblins. If one of them ever asks you for a favor, don't think. Just spit in their eye. Because I love my Constance. But a goblin paid his life debt by depositing her on my doorstep in a basket one night and vanishing into the darkness. And I and Amelia Nora brought her in and raised her as our own. And I have no regrets about that. Save for the fact that now you all have to know these secrets. You come from broken, disparate backgrounds, including my son, who came to me as an exile from the northern kingdoms. Don't ever think I didn't know. There's a haughtiness in Alfile royalty that you can't breed out. And it took years to break. But it wasn't very long after you arrived that I contacted the court to see if you'd run away. And we were told of the plight. And so I adopted you. Your disparate backgrounds mean nothing. You're all Marleys. Nothing will ever change that. I founded an order with my two oldest friends. We vowed to stand as guardians between the outer world and ours. But over time, things fell apart. Goals and ambitions changed. True desires came to light. If you come to this meeting tonight, this afternoon, this morning, whenever it is that Angel and Associates have seen fit to speak to you, searching answers, you'll find none here. I raised 9 capable, smart, powerful children. And where they walk, the world trembles. You're all wise enough to choose what side you're on. You don't need some old man to tell you what you believe. I love you all more than you will ever know. Weep not, my children, and do not tear the world apart to avenge me. Simply make it a better place. And there's that kind of twist of his head. And once more you're staring at that kind of long, albino, featureless face of Mr. Angel. My instructions are to give you a few moments to discuss. So I will. And he stands up and you watch again as just those feet kind of scrape along the stones as he flitters up the stairs and into the only room that's up there, which happens to be Emily's bedroom / office / study, but he doesn't seem to care. And Nathaniel just kind of rubs at his chin.
I wasn't that haughty, was I?
Oh, you were a right prick.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, he's not lying.
But we liked you anyway. Let's be fair. Your attitude's probably the only thing that saved us for some awkwardness. Because Amelia thought you were pretty cute when you first came to the house, but you were sort of a jerk, so that...
Nathaniel?
Hey.
Ah, well, worked out all right.
Yeah, we get him.
It's a better deal.
I agree. And Nathaniel kind of stands up and picks up the bottle that had been left on the counter and like leans over the bar and grabs a bunch of glasses and sets them down and starts to pour drinks. And
Constance immediately knocks it back.
And he kind of looks at it and like sighs and pushes it over to Constance.
You can have mine.
Mine too.
So Constance fires back
Let's
4
I was
solid...
giving mine
No,
to
not 4.
Nate.
Oh, Nate won't drink it. Nate just gave his to Constance.
I don't think I would have 4.
How
No,
sad are you?
I feel like I'm 2 down, slow drink next to sad. So knock 2 back and then just sipping from that point when I can't taste it anymore, you know, at that point.
Okay.
Nora pushes hers towards Ezra then.
Oh yeah, and Ezra like
I've never seen
Yeah,
the
I
point
knocked mine
in
back. But
dulling your senses when you have important things to do.
you should be an orc. Orcs cannot get drunk off of human liquor.
Can I be an orc?
Maybe.
I'm still learning the rules of how this whole otter world thing works.
And he looks at you for a moment. I mean, we can adopt you as orcs. I have that authority. The whole Marley clan, orcs, if you wanted.
What do you say, guys?
Families.
You didn't come through for 90% of that sentence, Chantel.
What's another family between families?
I mean, we've already got human, elf, and hag. What's one more?
I'm only a
Other-
hag in training.
And he looks at you. No. Hag.
We'll see.
He's got a very good nose.
He does. I would like to run some experiments with his nose.
Oh, you need to run. Just take her, go. It's fine. We'll hold her back.
But I still need to run experiments on Amelia's range at reading minds.
I am not a guinea pig. I am an orc.
Of course you're not a guinea pig. They're small and cute. They make little squeaky chirpy noises.
They also taste delicious with garlic butter.
On second thought, maybe being an orc isn't right for me.
It is too late. The decision has been made. The Marley clan has been adopted. And now you are all part of Clan Thunderjaw.
Oh, I like the
Instant
sound of
smile
that.
Boulder Tooth Thunderjaw.
Where does the clan name go in the normally? Just for propriety.
Of Clan
Ah,
Thunderjaw. So you would be Wayland Volson Marley of Clan Thunderjaw.
I guess technically I'd be Wayland Alistair Son Marley of Clan Thunderjaw.
Fine. We'll speak about the tattoos later. And he just picks up the bottle. Watery. It's like a 50-year-old scotch, and you're just like, we shall get you some real spirits. Then you shall know parties.
Are we still talking about alcohol?
I
really
really
be clear.
hope so.
I mean, it depends on how many shamans you invite.
That is my experience, yes.
These parties sound more interesting than the ones that you used to take me to, Constance.
All Orcish parties are better than English parties.
Sounds like I'm
Probably.
marrying into the right family.
Only at the best parties do bones get broken.
I'm not sure I approve of that.
It is fine. You as sister-in-law to the chieftain and sister of the chiefess, you could have your pick of any warrior to serve in your festival fighting. Save for me. I must fight for my bride.
Yes. Yay?
I will introduce you to Devrek. He is a good boy.
I look forward to that.
He is very good with the machines.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, I definitely look forward to that then.
And he grins. Now, I will drink more of this water. Perhaps get more from over there. You discuss, newest members of Clan Thunderjaw, your feelings at this emotional document. And he stands up and walks back to the bar, and you just see him get 3 bottles off the top shelf and come and set them down in front of him.
You know, Waylon, I've been thinking about the last few days, and I just wanted to say I'm sorry back in the safe house for threatening to kill you when I overheard your telegram with the order. If I'd known that you were my brother, then I would have only threatened to knock you out and tie you up until you came to your senses about Constance.
This is appropriate sibling affection.
Nora, you thought that I was a potential threat to Connie. I didn't begrudge the gun at all. Helped that I knew what my answer was and that you wouldn't shoot me when you heard it. But I didn't begrudge you doing it. I likely would have done something similar. So how are we doing now that we have a clearer idea of how this group came to be?
Well, we didn't know the details, but I already knew everything I needed to know. We're all family.
Yes.
It didn't change any of that.
Oh, I wasn't suggesting it did. But some of the other information was interesting. About picking sides. About how long confirmation that this had potentially been going for. And certain things we didn't know. How things came together.
So he was perfectly neutral.
Seems that way.
We wouldn't have another way that this could have. If he'd picked a side, then we would have heard this anyway.
Yeah.
side do you
Sorry.
think you're on?
I don't think anybody has explained exactly what the sides are about yet. But if to be on whatever side it is that has Dr. Jack on it, I'm almost automatically inclined against that side.
Veil up, or do you want the veil down? I don't think it can stay where it is.
I've always believed in the veil. Believed in what it did, that it was important. It's why I agreed to join the order, why I was happy to swear to uphold the balance. But I'm not bound by that vow anymore. And as far as I'm concerned, if I had to pick between my family and the veil, it's not a difficult decision. If Dr. Jack is correct, misguided though he may appear to be, if his objective is still good, if it is the better option, then I won't. I'm happy to see the veil fall, if that is the best option for us. But I'm not convinced at the moment that it is. Not just for us, but for the outer world, for the human world, for the independent kingdoms. I would be interested to hear what Dr. Jack has to say, and given that I think we should go and get Dorian. Very least hear what he has to say.
Nora,
Yes?
if Dorian's working with Dr. Jack now, would you kill him?
Of course not. He's my little brother.
So would you work with Dr. Jack?
No. He and the Prowler are the reason that Abigail is dead. They are the reason that Wyatt is dead. If you all decide that bringing the veil down is what's best, then I will help you work towards that. It will have to happen without Dr. Jack. And maybe Dorian is helping him. Either because he's been lied to or because he really believes it is for the best. But he was kidnapped, and Dr. Jack has killed a lot of people in pursuit of his objectives. A lot of our servants, and probably other people. The ends do not justify the means.
Says the woman who contemplates great murder.
Is making sure that Dr. Jack can't murder anybody else great murder? Or is it just seeing that justice is done?
Are you who decides justice, Haggling?
Is there someone I can turn him over to? The English court won't work.
Mistake me not, sister mine. I am not standing between you and this Dr. Jack. However, I recognize the fog of vengeance when it sets upon those who are young. You are very clouded. Ensure that you think clearly and for what is truly the best for those you love before you act rashly. For even for one of wish magic, certain things cannot be undone. Should you choose to end this Dr. Jack and all that he represents, we will stand with you. But ensure that you know why you truly wish to end his life. If there is one thing that was spoken about the vagabond throughout all of North America, it was that the web that his family had woven was more twisted than even the most intricate of fabrics. Even with this manifesto, there are details lacking.
Yes.
Dr. Jack invited us, to Venice.
Venice. Why?
Why anything? That's where they're going. I pull out the card.
Okay. Constance produces, it's about the size of a playing card, and it appears to be made out of metal.
We need to go to M3 first. I don't know why everybody thinks I'm just gonna run up to Dr. Jack with a dagger and stab him either.
You are
Pride?
reckless.
Have you seen my list?
Yes, I have heard you speak of it. For one so young to bear so many enemies is truly the sign of one who is reckless.
A to-do list. It clearly states under Dr. Jack, talk to him about how to make heart cores, talk to him about why he left cookies and made sure that they were cinnamon and that Amelia couldn't have them. It clearly lists out various things that we need to discuss first before kill him. Also, I do not understand why, if his cause is so important, it cannot go on without him. Why is it?
When the foundation stone of a building is removed, a building crumbles.
Maybe Dorian is the foundation stone he needed.
Perhaps. I do not know. I simply wish to provide perspective in an in-character fashion rather than one as a voice from the sky.
Thank you, Ezra. Your perspective is appreciated.
Ezra?
Yes,
Where-
darling.
Where do the orcs stand on the veil?
The veil is largely a European construct.
Do you have a curtain or something?
We have the sky.
What? Do you live in the sky?
We live upon the mountain.
Oh.
The veil exists for some there, but as many will know, it is taken less seriously in North America, for things are more tenuously attached to reality there anyway.
I see. Constance finishes glass 3.
Ezra makes a good point, though. We might have more information, but there's still a lot we don't know.
Van Helsing said he would tell us.
Van Helsing will know more. Given that he was going to... he's probably our next stop anyway.
Looking for a journal.
Do you think he would know who my father is?
Would I know who?
No, Van
The Winter
Helsing.
Court? Asks Sam.
Oh.
The Princess Emilianora was unwed.
He would be an excellent person to ask.
Wayland, do elves of the Winter Court look very much like humans?
They're like supermodel humans.
Elves. Elves have always... how would I say it? It's like they're a step up than you might expect. It's like when take a human and just sort of refined the features.
Ah, I see.
You still have carbuncles.
No, she doesn't. They haven't been there since she died.
And the werewolf
I'm sticking by that.
scar is gone, right?
Yeah, she is once more your paragon of perfection, sister.
Wait, she doesn't have the scars on her throat?
Not according
Anymore?
to you see them,
Ah.
but no one else does.
Mm.
Beauty tips of the stars. Number 3 will amaze you. Are we supposed to call this Mr. Angel back? I'm not sure what.
And as if you did, you hear the door at the top of the stairs open. And he slowly, you just hear this as those shoes just kind of thump down the stairs. So you know he's not walking down them, he's just sort of floating. It's kind of like a slinky of shoes. Yep. I'm going to go with that. But he arrives. And looks around. Have you dealt with your emotional matters then?
I mean, no. But
I
as
can
much as we
return
can.
upstairs. There are many interesting accoutrements.
Oh, I think it's probably going to take most of us years to work through some of these emotions, but we can pause that and move along.
And he
Was
lifts
more
the
my point,
folio
yes.
and kind of looks through the ledger. Very well. And there's another. And your father is once more looking at you.
Oh, that doesn't get any more comfortable.
Constance starts glass number 4.
Dearest, you should probably take that a little bit slower.
You said it would take years to get through this. I'm helping it
Besides,
along.
she is an orc now.
Okay. Yeah.
And he like looks at Constance and like reaches over and like pulls the glass away from her.
Give it back.
No.
Just take a little breather, and then you can have it back.
And he reaches into like his jerkin and he pours this kind of thick, almost molassesy liquid into the shot glass and pushes it across to you.
Oh,
Tasting it.
Oh, it's
Not knocking it back, tasting
it's
it.
rich and very smoky. Very, very, very smooth.
Tastes like a savoring drink.
Yeah.
It's not a shot drink. I'm not going to shot that. I'm going to savor that.
Yeah.
That's going to get me through the next bit. Okay, let's go.
It's definitely one of those, like, it's like, you know, if you went to a tasting for like good balsamic where you're not actually intended to put it on anything, you're just supposed to like drink it. It's like that.
I'm sorry, who goes for balsamic tastings? Really? Oh, both of you. I'm embarrassed for you.
I'm embarrassed that you've never gone. There's
I
an
go
aspect.
to wineries.
I'm a recovering alcoholic.
Fine. Okay. Taste vinegar.
See?
and we already know about my tastes, so I don't
I'm
really
not
need.
surprised by you.
A good balsamic vinegar is arguably one of the most intricately flavored things you will ever experience, and it will trigger every single aspect of your tongue at the same time. We'll have this conversation not on stream. Anyway, creepy dad head attached to strange body looks at all of you. To my eldest daughter, Soraya, I leave the castle in the woods. And I leave the deed to the hunting cabin in Scotland. And he flips to Thomas, my eldest son. I leave Marley Manor. To Ishmael. I leave all of the plans to the Helios-type airship fleets, as well as the North American holdings located in Idaho. To Nathaniel, I leave my trusted rapier. To my son Wayland, I leave the name Alistair's son. And I leave my best hat to Amelia. I leave your name, Emily. I leave my forgiveness. And I leave my deepest apology. And I leave to you your true mother's tiara. To Constance, I leave the ranch in Montana that you always dreamed to see. And I leave a brass key that was beneath your pillow when you arrived at our home. Nora. I leave all information regarding our two most priority projects. As well as a 33% controlling interest in 3M. And to Dorian, I leave a 33% controlling interest in 3M. All other holdings and assets will be evenly distributed amongst my children, save for the final 34% of 3M. which will be left to a party to be kept secret at this time. And to all of you, I leave my love, Alistair Marley. And there's that kind of, again,
Pretty much as soon as he said the part about Amelia's just been like sobbing, like just tears just rolling down her face.
and from out of the ledger, the individual, Mr. Angel, looks across to Emily. Miss Marley, what is your full name?
Amelia Marley.
It is to his daughter, Emily, that he leaves the deed to the precocious pixie. Save for the basement level. And that comes as a surprise to Amelia, because as far as you know, there's no basement in the precocious pixie.
Sorry, the basement?
The basement level, which he leaves to Miss Nora Marley. And he slides the document across to you. And he kind of stands up. There's one more thing. And he reaches into he opens up the briefcase and he pulls out a bar. And the bar is wrapped in red silk. And it's about 2 feet long, the same kind of length of the briefcase. And he holds it out to Nora.
Okay.
Per the written instructions, he grants to you this piece of metal found within a dig in Cairo, under the pretext that it never be used against any who you would call family.
Okay.
He hands it to Nora. And as you pull back the red cloth, there is a solid ingot about 2 feet long and about 3 inches thick of that deep sapphire blue metal.
Oh. I really wish I knew how to make this. And she very carefully, though, with one finger, reaches out. Like, you know, the hag mentioned that Eternium weapons probably the only way to kill her. You all keep saying I'm a hag. She reaches her finger closer to the
No.
metal.
No.
And she touches it with her bare finger.
Give me a vigor roll. At a -4.
Man, remember when Nora was a character? That was fun.
So after spending 2 bennies, I got a 7.
Okay. Nora collapses unconscious on the floor of the Pixie. And as Mr. Angel kind of looks down at her and then back at the rest of you, I'll be on my way then. Your food will be here shortly. And he steps over Nora. The feet just kind of like brush over Nora because he can't quite actually get them up much higher than that. And he moves toward the door.
I moved to check on Nora.
Nobody touched that bar.
Nora is in severe tachycardia. And very unconscious. And he turns and looks at you for a moment. From what I understand,
Sorry, I have an important question.
you have no heartbeat. Yep.
But I have recently learned that Nora has no heart
That you
anyway.
have no heartbeat,
She
yep.
doesn't have a heartbeat anyhow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just clarifying.
Yep. But they are feeling strange thumps where your pulse should be. Also, her veins are turning black.
I have no medical training, so
I do. What does it do? What does it tell me?
Give me a healing roll.
Okay.
Sisters, stop touching things.
I
9.
was just drinking.
I mean, this is very classic poisoning symptoms. And he turns and he looks at all of you. It would appear that my contract is not yet finished, as I've not spoken with the final beneficiary of your father's estate. My carriage is outside if you'd care to put her in it. Dr. Domingo, I'm sure, can take care of her. And with that, we will be back next Monday for more Paddington Prowler. So, on behalf of everybody here, thanks so much for joining us, chat. I hope everybody had a good time. I've been your host and storyteller, Eric Taylor. Watch Twitter for information on Wednesday, but remember, Saturday morning you can catch Unlawful Disorder. Saturday evening there is no Far From Home. But we'll be back Saturday after that with more. And if you liked what you saw, you liked hanging out with us, you liked the story, check out patreon.com/DoRespite, where you can help keep us going and support this little enterprise of ours. So, you can find Chantel at ChantelB on Twitter or at wordswithcolor.com or at everything we do here on Do Respite. How was game, Shawnee?
I'm gonna have Constance drink some more. It's a great life. Everything's numb. It feels great.
Makes note in book to start having Constance roll checks to not obtain a dependency hindrance.
Oh no. But realistically, probably yes.
Yeah, they're definitely going to get
Mhm.
progressively harder.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, you can find Sarah at RP Game Beast on Twitter, where Sarah tweets about her cosplay. As you can see, everything she's wearing, she made. And she puts up pictures of other things she makes. How was game, Sarah? How are you?
It was good. I enjoyed it. Chantel isn't the only one that gets to do things.
Potentially. It would have been so bad for you if you failed that role. I'm just saying.
That's why I spent 2 pennies. I'm really glad I didn't have Amelia whip out her Eternium edged knife and try that in the cheese cart, because then I would have missed so much. I thought about it though. I've been thinking about this for 2 weeks.
Speaking of horrifying ideas, I can't even segue that. Yeah, so your sister almost asked you to essentially kill her. How are you, Katie? You cannot find Katie anywhere on the internet except here or on Far From Home, except not this Saturday.
Yes. Sisters. Man, let me tell you. Well, maybe Constance understands Amelia a little bit better now. You know?
Why would that be the thing? Why?
You
Why
know,
would
just
she?
numbing the pain.
Oh. No? No, still
Okay,
no.
fine. But Amelia has orc horns at her disposal, so that was a great find. No more running off. None of you.
Good luck with that.
And then there's Wayland, played by Sam, who you can find at _real Sammy P on Twitter, and on Unlawful Disorder on Saturdays, and on Eternium Gate on Wednesdays.
Very exciting.
Will be good times. How was game?
Game was good. I mean, rough at points. But then what Will reading isn't. But no, that was great. I mean, testing, there's got to be better ways to test if you're allergic to something. It's like, I think you're allergic to peanuts. It's like, all right, I'm going to have this spoonful of peanut butter and see what happens.
I'm going to eat those. Yeah, can you imagine if she'd licked it?
I didn't put it in my mouth. Only Chantel
It's so
does
something
that.
I would have done though.
Just, let me see this bar. Dead.
Like, on the one hand, I entirely, the overall thing is I entirely see Nora doing that. Every part of that was just Nora down to the ground. But like, we've seen her do horrifying things with little effort. So like, just touching it is just like, no.
This will go poorly for you. And it did. So, and that was on a success.
We have a new NPC to meet.
Yep, now you get to meet Dr. Domingo. All right. So, with all that out of the way, thanks so much for joining us, everybody. I hope everybody had a good time. We'll see you on Twitter, where you can watch for news about Wednesday. But until then, I've been Eric Taylor on behalf of Chantel, Sarah, Katie, and Sam. Good night. Good luck. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Love one another. And we'll see all of you when we see you. Bye, everybody.